want to talk about what I've learned about PC gaming through my experience with the Steam Deck, because it's been kind of transformative. And as someone who has been historically a console gamer, historically been on Apple products, the Steam Deck for me was a transition to a style of gaming that I wasn't expecting to be as, transformative. I already used the word, but it's like the most accurate. You guys know how I feel about the Steam Deck, how I feel about portable gaming as a whole, us being deck daddies. Also, the whole sleep-deprived, baggy-eyed crew, SDBE. Like, it is such a huge part of my gaming day-to-day, and that's only because of the ability to play wherever, however. But something that it introduced me to that I wasn't expecting is being respected as a gamer. And the problem was I didn't realize that wasn't happening with my gaming consoles as they were. Today's going to be experimental. We're talking about a new thing, and I am going to be using a flat disc metal filter. So we're grinding really coarse. We're going to see how this turns out. As it stands, I have been using PlayStation, Xbox, and Nintendo Switch my whole life. Xbox being the last of it, but PlayStation and Nintendo have been my day-to-day for well over, honestly, 3 decades. I'm 35 now, but 3 decades of using the Nintendo products. I love Nintendo. You guys know that about me. And it's primarily because that device itself, or those devices themselves, have always brought such wonder and splendor to the gaming world. And also, they just don't function the same way as some of the other companies do, right? With PlayStation and Xbox, rather, they are always pushing the limits, the boundaries. We have better graphics, better everything. And really what's happening with this is this kind of a aggressive pursuit, so to speak, of fidelity, right? And for me, I think that fidelity and high frames and all this stuff has never really been super important. And that's probably because I'm coming from Nintendo. Let me close my door. My kids are playing upstairs and they're fighting, so yeah, my wife is handling it. She's awesome, but it's getting kind of loud. I started using the Steam Deck when it released because, well, that's just what you do. And as it released, I was like, okay, cool. This is a really, really rad product. This is a really, really rad device. And, well, I'm kind of SOL because I don't have a actual Steam library. And this was huge because I'm like, okay, well, without a Steam library, I don't have any games to play. And so this seems kind of ridiculous. And so at first, with the Steam Deck LCD, I was like, nah, this isn't going to work for me. I don't have enough games. And then later, as time went on, I was like, well, let's acquire some. Ooh, this is really pouring out quickly. I wonder if an inverted method is not the way to go about it. We're going to go a little bit heavier with the water. We're going to go with a 300, and we're going to see how this works out. This is purely experimental, 100% experimental, and we're going to seal it. Does it seal? It seals. Okay, we're good. We're good. This is going to be a really interesting cup. I can already see it's really muddy. And so we're going to see how this works. I'm excited. This is going to be fun. The LCD was such a huge thing because I was like, this is cool, but I don't know what I'm going to do with it. And now here we are with the OLED. And it was finally that experience that I was looking for, that kind of simplified experience that I get from PlayStation or Nintendo Switch. And as time went on, I, built out some sort of library. And I was having this conversation with some people on stream. And if you want to join on stream, it's twitch.tv/JDXCoffee. And we're doing big things over there. Some huge things coming out at the end of the week. But you'll have to wait and see what that's all about. Also, Discord's open to anybody who wants to join. Link is below. But when it came to gaming libraries, I was like, yeah, it's tough to leave PlayStation because I have so many libraries, so many games that I have acquired over the years. And they're like, well, how many of those do you actually own? And I was like, well, I own all of them because, you download them and they're a part of your library. And I didn't know, and this is new to me, I didn't know that when you download a game, when you decide, oh, I'm going to download the game of the month and play the game of the month, that game itself isn't yours to keep once you get rid of your subscription service. In fact, once you get rid of your subscription service, you now are having whatever you've actually dollar amount purchased. And I was like, oh, okay. And so I'm sitting there with 100 plus games going, I have 100 games here on this, on my, or 100 plus games here on my PlayStation, way more than my Steam Deck. This is a tough thing to reconcile. And they're like, just switch to purchased. And I did. And I have 26 purchased games. And of those 26 purchased games, 20 of them I have on the Steam Deck. I was like, oh. The 6 I don't have on the Steam Deck include games like Final Fantasy VII Rebirth, Sparking Zero, Dragon Ball Z Sparking Zero, Ghost of Tsushima, games that I played a little bit of. Final Fantasy VII I completely finished. But Ghost of Tsushima I played a little bit of, available on deck, like stuff like this. Sparking Zero, available on deck. And I was like, oh my goodness gracious. The difference between the two is reversed. I don't have more PlayStation than Steam Deck games. And I only have those PlayStation games if I continued to pay their service, which I'm not against services, because it grants peace of mind, and not peace of mind, but clarity. Like, you're just like, okay, I'm just going to play on this. But when it came to that was such a sobering experience. And so for me, as someone who has historically been in this realm of console gaming, introducing the Steam Deck was an interesting start to this process of like, okay, well, this is just a new library to start. And as my Steam library started to develop, I realized, oh, this is actually a really, really respectful library. Not just because I can share it with family members if I so choose, but because this library is accessible anywhere. I can buy any device. I can play it on the gaming laptop that I'm borrowing from a buddy, an Asus ROG Ally or Ally X, Legion Go, MSI Claw, or top-of-the-line gaming PC or middle-of-the-line game. It just doesn't matter. Those games are accessible everywhere. And I started to really think about it. I started to really think about PlayStation 5, PlayStation 5 Pro, Xbox Series X, S, Super X, whatever they're going to end up bringing out to compete. And I started really trying to understand, like, where does it all stack up? Like, how does this work? And trying to, like, think through it granularly. And the thought really was distilled, or the conclusion was distilled down to, the Steam Deck just respects the... That doesn't taste like anything. It's clean, surprisingly, actually. That's a really clean cup of coffee. But it's only clean because I think... Oh, wow, there's a lot in there. That's a lot of soot. There's a lot of soot in there. Wow, okay. I mean, you can't even see through it. It's pretty muddy. But it still tastes really clean, and I think it just tastes clean because of how fast it brewed. If this was to sit any... There's a lot in there. Oh, yeah. Anyway, that was a fun coffee experiment. I'm going to dial that a little bit more because I'm curious to see if I can get that metal filter to actually taste solid. I think we might... Yeah, we'll mess around with it. But anyway, the Steam Deck itself respects the gamer. And I know I've said that a few times, and I don't know if I've fully unpacked that. So first and foremost, we have the idea of flexibility and flexible location, FlexiLock. FlexiLock is a huge thing for me because I have children, I have a wife, I have ADHD, and so just changing my location can help lock things in. The hybrid gaming experience isn't perfect, but it does exist. And with some tweaking here and there, not only does it exist, but it exists relatively well. I don't recommend changing resolutions like I've been messing around with because it ends up causing more issues than anything else, but I will say that the device itself is a very, very well-oiled machine. And so to plug it into a TV, I run a 4K monitor. It's a 4K TV, actually. And so I actually am running the TV experience. I'm not even running a 1440 or 1080p monitor. I have a 4K TV. And so if I was running this on a 1080p or 1440p monitor, I think it would be a much simpler experience. But running it through a TV, it's great. I mean, it scales beautifully. The thought of plugging this into my living room TV and playing it on my couch is like totally doable. And so for that was huge. And I know that the Switch can do it, but where we start to split, which is really an interesting thing the more that I've thought about it, is the idea of library management, right? We've talked about it before, but really what it comes down to is the idea of the games that you're playing aren't locked so much so to the device as they are just usable. And for me, as time has gone on, that idea is absurdly attractive. The idea that the device that I'm using is able to access the game, but the only thing that's contingent on accessing the game is being able to access the client, right? So Steam, for instance. And that's, I'm realizing with the introduction of the PlayStation 5 Pro, is a new form or a new mechanic that PC gaming or the Steam Deck has introduced that I hadn't really thought about as much. And so like PlayStation 5, the PlayStation, for instance, is coming out with a Pro, which is the equivalent of basically a video card upgrade. And that video card upgrade is going to grant me, the gamer, access to a better performance, as well as some proprietary verbiage that they're deciding to use in lieu of upscaling, right? AI generated, whatever. They're just using some of their own new proprietary PSSR, I think is what they're calling it. Everyone's coining their own phrase for the idea of upscaling and frame generation. Okay. And so, or whatever it's called, that's what they're doing. And I'm like, cool. It's the equivalent of a graphics card upgrade. And at first that was like, yeah, it makes sense with PlayStation and with everything. Like, I'm just going to upgrade the graphics card and we're going to be good. But that's not exactly how it is for me. I have the PlayStation 5. I upgraded the 5 Pro. I get all of my 26 owned or 20-something owned titles with me, and then whatever I'm subscribing to continuously to gain access to the games that I've downloaded for free, or not really downloaded for free. They have been I have gained access to them while I'm subscribed to the service. So it's a permanent access through the service. That is not free. That is actually, that's a paywall, so that's not free at all. I'm trying to pour this to see if I can get just the soot so you guys can see it. Yeah, there we go. Can you guys see that? You guys see that in there? This right here, you can see it coating the bottom. You see all that? That's coffee grinds, like actual coffee grinds. Those are the fines that made it through. That's what happens with metal filters. They're not, they're more porous. And so you can get some of these little micro things in here. And all that, what you're seeing coating the bottom of that, because it's not moving, that's all little tiny itty bitty coffee grinds. I call it soot. Cool. So, interesting. Some people like that. French press is filled with that. If you drink a French press, you're getting a tremendous amount of that because the actual French press itself, the metal filter, those holes are huge in comparison to actual coffee. So that's why people are like, French press is so strong. It's like, well, because the coffee is actually like continuously brewing while it's sitting in there versus like a drip coffee where the coffee, once it's done dripping, there's no more contact with the actual coffee itself. So fun little fact for you. I probably won't finish this because it's not super tasty, and I don't want to sit here and try to slam this and then make another coffee for myself and my wife that's going to taste much better, and then I'm sitting there going like, oh, my tummy hurts. Back to the deck. So that realization for me was kind of huge, and I was thinking like, I know this sounds so like, what, dude, you're overthinking it. Yeah, that's what we do, right? We drink coffee and overthink. But looking at the future of like, if I'm investing in this hobby and the Steam Deck is the main, like if I'm going to invest in a machine that grants me access to a better performance, as well as if I made a video, or I didn't make a video, but I was on stream talking about how insulting Apple has become with their pricing structure. And I'm like, well, what's the play? What's the end result? Like, what do? Do you invest in the continuously upgradable like console thing? Do you finally pull the trigger on switching over to a PC system? What do you do? And that's really been something I've been thinking about a lot over the past few months. I've talked about it, this, that, and the other, and I've looked at like building PCs versus pre-builds. And with the Steam Deck, I really looked at it and I go, so what do I love so much about this device? It's one, it's user-friendly, but two, when I see my library, I know that those games I'm going to be able to play regardless of the device that I have. As long as I have access to Steam and the client Steam is able to run on the device that I have Steam on, I'm going to have access to those games. That is such a wonderful feeling. It's something that I've never really experienced before because Nintendo and PlayStation, the two primary consoles that I've used my whole life, they don't do it that way. If I get I have a Nintendo Switch, but if I grab a Nintendo 64, I'm not playing Paper Mario and the Thousand Year Door on a Nintendo 64, right? Not the Switch version, certainly not the GameCube version. That's not going to happen. I would have to get specific hardware that runs that specific game. And that's just the way it works. PlayStation a little different. I might be able to run a PlayStation 3 game on a PlayStation 5. Sure. Or let's go back, playing a 2005 game like I was playing Star Wars Battlefield, which is like Age of Empires, but with Star Wars. I love that game. I loved it growing up. I'm playing it on my buddy's gaming PC, and I can't really play it on there because it's point and click, but I can try to. But that game itself is a super old game. Now I understand that thinking about it, like running a newer title on older hardware doesn't make sense, but actually, let's think about it. I purchased this gaming laptop back like right when the PlayStation 5 launched. So let's just say I didn't have a PlayStation 5. Like I can play Black Myth Wukong that just came out now that would be locked to current hardware on that laptop, which is older, right? I didn't realize how valuable that was until I started using the Steam Deck and understanding like, ooh, that flexibility is super huge for me. And also, as someone who likes to reduce the amount of options I have, it seems like the Steam Deck or that kind of gaming solution would genuinely be like such a solid answer to all of the gaming thing, which is like, no, I just have it in one place with the exception of Nintendo. Nintendo has removed themselves from the gaming race. I'm not buying Guardians of the Galaxy on Nintendo. Like, that's just not going to happen. But I am buying Mario and Luigi Brothership or, Tears of the Kingdom or whatever. Like, that's why I play my Switch. I play it for those games. I have a couple titles that are on multiple platforms that I've played, but I'm not anymore. Like, I'm not playing Octopath Traveler on the Switch. I'm playing it on the Steam Deck. And so, like, the Switch itself and Nintendo itself has really found its place in my heart, always being the first-party device. And so, as time has gone on, I was like, dude, the Steam Deck Nintendo combo has been such a powerful one. And the PlayStation 5 Pro is so cool and so rad when it comes to PlayStation, as PlayStation has been my access to next-gen gaming for such a long time. But I'm finding myself in a spot where I'm like, I really like the Steam Deck, and I really like my Steam library being managed. Like, I like that library. I have those games. And so, with the help of my chat on Twitch, when we were talking about it, we came up with a bunch of video ideas, and so I officially switched to PC. It shows up in a couple days, and I'll be setting it up and hopefully streaming my first ever game on Saturday on Twitch, live on Twitch, twitch.tv/JDXCoffee. I have used a Mac my whole life, 20 years, if not more. More, because I had a Mac in my bedroom when I was a kid. My dad had his old one. I've used Apple products my whole life. I have only played video games on console, a couple on Mac here and there. Halo was available on Mac back in the day, but I never got into it. I do have a gaming laptop that I've tested on, but I have never exclusively played on a PC. Saturday is going to be the first day that I genuinely play and use a Windows machine. And I purchased the PC from Costco. And starting Saturday, my journey as a gamer will now be adventuring through my first ever experience with a gaming PC. It was a back and forth for a long time with much thought and deliberation, so you're going to have to wait and see how that goes. It arrives Thursday, so in a couple days. As long as the world doesn't end, because everyone thinks it's going to today, this should be crazy. Make sure you join Discord if you want to help me through this journey, because I don't know anything. You can come into Discord. We got a bunch of cool people in there. Please join me on Twitch. Let's watch this process. And as of right now, I have 22 videos, all geared around the transition, as well as playing different games and investigating and trying to see what the PC gaming world is all about as someone who has been a console gamer for 30 years. I'm hoping I enjoy it because it was quite an investment. But I bought it from Costco, so I have 90 days. So, yeah. All right, I'll take one more sip. You guys enjoy the rest of your day. Shout out to all the dads out there who are sleep deprived and baggy-eyed. It just doesn't taste like anything. All right, play more and be kind. See ya.